Hey everyone, it is Christina Leavenworth with Real Estate Rockstars. I am so excited to be here with you today. And this guest we're talking to is phenomenal. We're going to be talking to Tyler McLay. He is out of Toronto, Canada. This guy has been named top 35, under 35 several years in a row. He runs a real estate team. While we're talking, he's going to give us some great practical nuggets that can transform your business. I am so excited for you guys to hear from Tyler McLay. All right, without further ado, I am so excited to talk to Tyler McLay out of Toronto. He's in Canada, and this guy has been named top 35, under 35 for quite a few years in a row. So I think we're going to learn a lot from him. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be amongst some pretty impressive company that you guys have guests on the show. So very looking forward to being here, and I hope I can provide some value to the listeners. I really hope I can.
I really, really think you will. What I noticed is that you are a third generation real estate agent. So let's start off with, tell us about your real estate journey.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. And I mean, it was very, impactful in my career, just growing up with my mother being in the business, shadowing naturally, overhearing conversations, seeing the not so glorious side of the business, the tough side. I often, in my coaching business, I often talk about our business like an iceberg, right? 10% is the fun stuff that we see on all these reality shows, going for lunch and having coffee and showing gorgeous property and big fat commission checks. Like, yeah. But to get those opportunities, it's that 90% below the surface. So being a third generation agent, I got access firsthand growing up, seeing that 90%, the late nights, the work ethic, the going the extra mile, all the tough parts of the business. So it gave me an advantage coming into the business, knowing the not so glorious parts. So I was knowing what to expect. I was a little more buckled in terms of what I was getting into, if you will.
So I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she's been at so many open houses. She has put out signs for me. And I think a lot of times that can go one way or another, where they go, I am never doing that. So from a young age, is this something you always wanted to do, or did you do something else first and then come back to real estate?
Great question. I love that's great about your daughter. And it just reminds me of a story of two twin brothers. And it's an old, I guess, folktale or example of a similar concept where he said it could go one of two ways. And it was two twin brothers. One was super, super successful businessman, and the other one was an alcoholic. And their father was an alcoholic. And they asked each man, they said, why are you the way you are? And the alcoholic son said, because of my father. And the super successful, sober business son said, because of my father. So it's incredible how the same, nature can produce varying outcomes. But lucky for me, I decided to follow in the footsteps, but definitely not something I always wanted to do. No, always very entrepreneurial. I launched my first company when I was 14. It was a lawn care cutting business called Green Bear Lawn Care. I ran that from 14 to 17 because no one would hire me. I was too young to get a job. I tried and applied, but no one would hire me, so I had to do it myself. But no, in university, I wanted to be a Wall Street banker. I wanted to be a finance guy. I wanted to be that. And I ended up working alongside my mom for part of my undergraduate degree. I would work with her in the summers, and I decided to get my license just to have in the meantime, as I could help her and do showings for her and be around and be available, and tried to be like a sponge and learn everything I could. And I ended up just absolutely falling in love with the business because it had the communication elements that I love. I love talking to people and working with people, which is awesome. I loved that it was very entrepreneurial in nature. And I think not enough agents see the business as a business versus a job or a career, but it is a business. And I loved that it had some of those financial elements that I really liked about the Wall Street dream, was the finance and the money side and breaking down, some investment analysis on property. So it was really well aligned for me. And there's nothing else I'd rather do. I think it's the best business in the world. I think it's the best career path in the world. There's nothing like it. It's a thrill. It's exhilarating. There's ups and downs, but really you mold the life you want. You mold the business that you want. And, if you do it the right way, you're pretty well respected member of the community because we're doing big things.
Yeah, I love it. So, what I noticed, which was really impressive to me, in 2022, you were 129th in all of Canada, which is crazy impressive on its own. Then in 2023, you jumped to 52. And then in 2024, you were 18th in the country. So, those are some strong, crazy gains in a short amount of time. What's the biggest thing that you can say, like, this is why we did that? Here's how we got there?
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, I think it's a matter of maintaining the right vision, and understanding the long term compounding effects of this business, visualizing the business, as I said, and not looking for that quick commission check. Right, an overnight success takes 20 years to build. Right, we've heard all these things, but it's so very true in real estate, and I think that similar in the U.S. and most states in the U.S., similar to, at least I'm in Ontario, and similar to the majority of Canada, it is not super complicated to get that real estate license. Right? It's online, a few weeks. It's not so intense. So we get a lot of agents jump into the business expecting to make quick, easy commission check. We expect that, but I think the biggest proponent of myself and my team's success has truly been that long-term vision, that building. And I relate it a lot to the three little pigs. We don't want to build a house out of straw. We don't want to build a house out of twigs. We want to build a house out of stone and a solid concrete foundation so we continue to scale. New Year's is just passed. Welcome to 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone goes back to zero, right? That's our business. Nothing's guaranteed in real estate. We're back to zero. That's the mindset of agents. For me, absolutely not. I've got systems, structure, processes that we can build on, business that we can leverage from last year and the last decade to grow and advance going forward. So I'd say a few tips for any agent out there. Number one is just mindset, seeing the big picture, focusing on those long-term goals. Okay, we often overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 10. And if we can have that mindset of creating a solid foundation, building the right systems, building the right habits and routines, and letting them, knowing that they're the right things to do, and letting them basically do their thing, finding consistency in doing the right things, then it's basically natural. It's basically an organic result of doing the right things consistently, right? If I've got a trip to Mexico planned and I want to get in great shape, I can't go to the gym one day for 12 hours and expect it to transform my body. I've got to go every day for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour every day for the next 365 days. And I'm probably going to see some pretty staggering results. So something I talk a lot about with my team, which is a big part of the success. So shout out to my team and Julia, our admin, big part of our success, keeping us on track, maintaining our systems. But something I say very often is we want to focus on those marginal improvements. All too often, agents are looking for a secret to success or a big shortcut. How can I buy some leads? That's not the way to build a sustainable business. That's building your house out of straw or twigs. For us, if I can make marginal improvements every day, if I can improve my communication skills 1% a day for the next 365 days, I'm going to 3x my communication skills. If I can improve my listing presentation 1% per day over the next calendar year, I am going to 3.5x my performance on listing presentations. Same goes for social media, door knocking, cold calling, communication, authority, right? Leadership, whatever we're implementing in our business, whatever our secret sauce is, whatever our unique value proposition is, we need to work to make that better marginally, consistently versus trying to do it all at once. That's my biggest piece of advice.
No, totally. It's all about consistency. I run a team as well. I couldn't agree more. But for a lot of them, it's like, where do I start? Which piece of the pie do I go after first? As far as you guys, is there one main area where you guys are focusing? Are you farming? Are you door knocking? Are you doing open houses? Where do most of your leads come from?
Great question. I mean, I think so. I have a real estate coaching company, and I've led my team for the past 6 years. So I've taught university, I've taught college courses, I have vast, diverse experiences teaching and coaching and educating. And one of the things that I find makes a really good coach and has a very profound impact almost immediately is not focusing on making your weaknesses stronger. We want to ignore that. We don't want to make our weaknesses baseline. There's too much competition for that. What I want to do is take my unique value proposition, take my successes, take what I'm really good at, and work to be the absolute best at them. So I make a lot of sports analogies. I'm a sports fan. Austin Matthews, I'll use hockey because I'm Canadian, but Austin Matthews gets paid the big bucks because he scores goals. Not because he plays defense, not because he saves us on the penalty kill, but he makes the big bucks because he is a natural goal scorer and his role is to score goals, right? And then you look at a top tier defenseman, they don't get paid to score goals, they get paid to stop them. Okay. So everyone's got a different role. Okay. And we can, again, whatever sport you're into, quarterback versus a linebacker, different roles. And just because I'm a real estate agent and you are a real estate agent doesn't mean that we operate the same way, nor is there a recipe for success that's going to be the same for me as it is for you. So in terms of what we do for lead gen, there really isn't one thing that we like over others. I'm not going to tell you door knocking is the best. I'm not going to tell you social media is the best. I'm not going to tell you cold calling is the best. But what I am going to tell you is whatever you are really good at, if it's networking and communicating, then show up to events and assert your authority. Talk to them about the market and win their confidence. If you're really good at social media and design, then hey, go gangbusters with social media and some quality posts. If you're really into finance, dive into the analysis, give a detailed analysis. If you like interior design, coach your clients through how they can add value to their home via interior design and staging. So whatever you're passionate about that feeds into this business, we want to create lead magnets, okay? So some unique value to a particular segment of the market and deliver that value. So we do a lot of mapping exercises. So to give you an example for lead gen, what we do is we have a 3-step process. Number one is we define our audience. So a big part of my coaching, big part of my business is having an ultra defined audience. I don't like when agents have blanket approaches and expect big results because it's not possible. Okay. Here's your market update. Who are you talking to? You're talking to everyone. And if you talk to everyone, no one's listening. So I want to speak to, here's what the interest rate announcement means for first time condo buyers in downtown LA. Or here is what the most recent policy shift by the municipal government means for owners on waterfront property. And I want to have my defined audience willing to accept a message. So step one, I define my audience. Who do I want to speak to? Let's go high level investors, okay? Condo investors. The more granular I get, the better the response will be. But condo investors. Step two is I need to find and source information and value that they will perceive as being valuable. So whether that be policy change from a government level, whether that be information on the tenant profiles that are going to be renting their units, whether that be my economic forecast of the market overall and some appreciation statistics, population growth, infrastructure investment, whatever. And then my third step is the delivery. And I want to map this out. What's the best way for me to deliver this information to this audience? Is it going to be a postcard? Is it going to be a mailer? Is it going to be social media? Is it going to be hopping on a podcast? Is it going to be hosting an open house or making cold calls? Is it going to be hosting a seminar or attending a seminar? Okay. So once I define my audience and I figure out where to find them, I figure out where that value is and what value I can add. And then I get out there and I go and find them and I deliver that information. Very simple mapping exercise. We do a lot of it. It's super powerful. Again, it's not specific to just one, I guess, source, right? Doesn't just have to be door knocking. The one note I will make for lead gen, though, the one note I will make is I do have something called an impact scale. A lot of agents like to hide behind their phones because they're not confident in their knowledge. Okay. The purpose of knowledge is action, but action is inspired by knowledge. Okay. And a lot of agents will like to text or DM or, again, post stats on social media. That's great for nurturing. That's great for nurturing. But to really have impact from a lead generation perspective, I have to have impact. And I'm always going to have the most impact when you can see my face, see my body language, hear my tonality. Okay. And basically that comes from being physically present, or at least a video conversation. Even a Zoom is okay. Reels on social media are okay, but I've got a scale. The more I have the opportunity to deliver my value physically with tonality, the more effective it's going to be at getting my hooks into those leads. The nurturing, I can text, I can email, I can send voice notes. Voice notes are better than a text because you get tonality, you get excitement. Okay. But again, face-to-face video is going to be better than a voice note because you can see my face, you can see my enthusiasm, you can see my body language. And studies tell us that clients make their decisions or are influenced. Words are the smallest piece. Word science tells us 7%. So it doesn't necessarily matter what I say as much as how I say it, because tonality is 38%. And even more than that, 55% of the way we're perceived is body language. So if I try to generate leads without being physically present, either video or physically, I'm giving up 55% of my impact, because our judgments, or our clients make judgments on our ability to represent them and our ability, our confidence and ability, number one, based on body language, number two, based on tonality, and number three, based on the words we say. So we're only getting 7% impact when we text or DM or post a picture of stats, right? It's just the words. I want to amplify that by implementing tonality. And better yet, I want to amplify that by allowing me to show some body language as well. So that's a
Awesome.
lot of stuff
Yeah.
going on. I hope agents can implement all those things.
No, absolutely. A lot of great nuggets in there. But I want to go back to when you first got into real estate. And I'm sure you were like anybody starting out, even though your mom was in it, you did have some knowledge, you did have some guidance there, but still, you're brand new. How old were you when you started?
18.
Okay, you're 18 years old. You probably looked like you were 12. I don't know, but a lot of guys, that's how guys look. Girls that are 18 look like they're 26. But yeah, so you look 12 and you're trying to ask people to trust you with their largest asset. So talk to me a little bit about like from when you first started to when you really started to see success and what you did to get that success.
It's a phenomenal question. And yes, my beard wasn't nearly as long then, and my suits weren't nearly as expensive then. It was a much different time, but I guess I would speak to that. We people talk about a first impression, but we actually have two first impressions. Okay. And I couldn't change my physical appearance because I was 18 and looked 12. All I could do is wear a suit and try to let my scruff grow as much as I could. I tried to look older, but only so much I could do. So the first visual impact limited in what I could do. But the second first impression that we're able to deliver on is as soon as we open our mouth. Okay. And a lot of agents drop the ball with opportunities by not having the confidence because they don't know what to say. So I focused very much on my first verbal impression, which was as they started to talk about real estate, I needed to be well studied. I needed to be well rehearsed. I needed to be well reviewed. So that as soon as they asked me, and maybe they had a preconceived notion, oh, this kid seems a little young. How much real estate could he have sold? As soon as I opened my mouth and started talking, well, today, based on the market dynamics and what we're seeing going on in the market, the buyers are doing this, the sellers are doing that. For your home, I could confidently appraise the value to be X. My approach to sales would be Y. And I would speak eloquently and confidently because that's all I had to again assert my authority. So I think that the biggest hack for me, starting off as quickly as I could, was just being confident, more so in my intention. Okay, this is actually quite interesting. But being confident in my intention, my genuine intention to help the client, rather than my confidence in ability. So I wasn't as confident in my ability because I did look young and I hadn't been around long in real estate. Sure, I watched my mom, but much different when you're doing it yourself. But my confidence in intention was 10 out of 10, 100%. So everything I did, the intention was to help the client. And I think that the organicness, the confidence in delivery, the tonality, the studying I did on communication and influence had a major impact on my ability to win business, even at a young age. So it was my knowledge of the market and the way I could articulate that knowledge. That would be the short version. Understanding the market, knowing what's going on inside out and backwards, and then delivering it in a very clear and concise way. Albert Einstein says, if we can't explain something simply, then we don't know it well enough. And that was always kind of my guide. Was I wanted to understand things so well that I could explain them simply, and I wouldn't have to ramble about, what should we do, Ty? Should we list now? Well, I don't know, because the spring and the summer market and the interest rates. If we don't know something, we tend to ramble. So I wanted to understand inside out and backwards what my craft was, and then I worked to refine my delivery and communication of that information. And that set me on a very um, lovely trajectory, I would say.
What would you say was the biggest thing that took you from single agent doing that, starting to get some steam, to really getting into the big leagues?
Real estate rock stars, it's Sarah Denig. And today I'm telling you, the holidays are over. If you are still nursing that holiday hangover and your whole goal for the year was just survive this season, it's time to level up. Come join us March 4th through 6th in Austin, Texas. This is a life-changing experience where people are so open. They will share, you will increase your business. If you have goals and you want to execute, come join us. We are better together, and I cannot wait to see you guys. Take this chance on yourself. Trust me.
I would say I would revert back to kind of what we started talking about, just the consistency of doing the right things, doing the right things that we know work. It's wild how we're human, so we're emotional and we're very short-term thinkers. I study a lot of psychology because it's a big part of our business. But it's amazing how we can, whatever we want to do, play pro basketball, pro football, be a top real estate agent, be a public speaker. There are people doing it at a very, very, very high level. So we know it's possible. And all we need to do is study those people. But we don't. We look for shortcuts. We look for tweaks. We look for cheat codes. Okay. And there aren't any. There really aren't any. There's strategies. There's more effective systems and frameworks. There's better articulation and better execution of the right habits. But the big shift for me was just knowing what I had to do and doing it consistently for a period of time where I began to get respected and I began to be seen as an authority in the space. So that's why my whole coaching program is built around being an authority in the space. For us to influence, we have to have authority. And I talk a lot about different kinds of power. So I think the big shift for me to go from, that average solo agent to, as you say, the big leagues is really understanding the difference between legitimate power and referent power. So legitimate power is our real estate license. We all have one. Every agent that you meet has a real estate license, and we are all legally able to transact in our state or province. Okay? Or I know it works differently in the States. It's not always the whole state, different segments. But that doesn't give me any competitive advantage, because if you look at a client trust scale, realtors are right there near the bottom, okay, because of the ease in obtaining the license in most cases. Doctors, lawyers, more, like official schooling, they tend to be more well respected because it's tougher and more time in to get to that level. Referent power is what not enough agents dial into and explore, which is the ability to influence based on my own confidence level, based on my confidence, again, in intention over ability. Brand new agents can have referent power through confidence in intention. Okay. Referent power is something that starts with us and is perceived by the client. Things like understanding stats inside out and backwards, things like giving advice, things like limiting options for our clients with good reason, things like defending with data. What's my house worth, Ty? 1.3. Where's my authority there? I need to defend with data. I need to frame or explain, give context to the advice I'm giving. And that's where our referent power comes from. Based on my homework and my research, I would say we want to list in and around 1.3, because property A sold for 1.4, they had a finished basement, and property B sold for 1.2 on a much smaller lot, 1,000 square feet smaller. So for those reasons, based on the market, the way the market shifted in the last 3 months since those homes have sold, my professional opinion would be in and around the 1.3 as a realistic value. How does that sound? So that's the difference, is defending with data, giving context, framing our opinions for our clients versus just 1.3, right?
Yeah.
And that's what gives you that referent power.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. It sounds like it was a snowball effect, that reputation, how you're saying doing the same things over and over, getting up, showing up to work. And I know you have a team. Are you guys big on time blocking, that sort of thing? And you said you're big on systems. Like, if you can give me your two biggest things you and your team members do every day, what are they?
Well, the one big one that everyone knows me for is read 3 articles a day. Like, if you want to succeed in this business, you got to know what's going on. You have to know more than your client. And with the emergence of technology and the information our clients have access to, our value proposition is rapidly evolving. It's not about opening doors, turning on lights, and telling them what the neighbor's house sold for. They can very well do that on their own. And even if they can't, AI could probably do it for you. So if we don't want to get replaced, we need to increase our value proposition. My value proposition is increased by the knowledge and the execution of that knowledge. So reading 3 articles a day at the bare minimum is important. So that's one. And to your point about time blocking, yes, we time block, but the way in which we do it is we use something called the Eisenhower matrix. Okay, so we take have you ever heard of the Eisenhower matrix? Very interesting. Definitely look into it. Share with your team. But it's basically we organize our to-do list into quadrants. Okay, so there's the important and urgent quadrant, which is things like listing appointments and buyer visits. There's a time frame. We got to go. You'd be nuts not to go. You know you're going to go, and we know we're going to do it. There's the non-important and non-urgent tasks. Okay, and those we try to delete. There's the urgent but not important tasks, like doing your deal paperwork for the office. Those we do our best to delegate if we can. But the most important quadrant, you asked me another thing we do daily other than read 3 articles, is we really focus on the important but non-urgent tasks. And this will transform anyone's business because it's the important but non-urgent tasks that often get overlooked, that often get ignored. Okay, because we know from studies that agents spend 90% of their time on low income, low productivity actions. For me to shift that and make the most out of my 24 hours that we all have in a day, I want to make sure that I'm spending my time on those high impact activities, right? There's a million ways, it's been said a million times, 80-20 rule, all the same stuff. But those important but non-urgent tasks are the things like lead gen, door knocking, cold calling. If I don't do it today, because we're self-employed, if I don't do any cold calling or door knocking today, oh well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm not getting a slap on the wrist from my manager or my broker or my boss because we don't have one. I'll do it tomorrow. No problem. No harm done. What happens the next day? You know what? I'd rather go to Johnny's birthday party. No problem. I can go. It was just door knocking anyway. And we put off those important but non-urgent tasks because we don't have a deadline. So we will always take a look daily with our to-do list at our important but non-urgent tasks, and we will try to give ourselves a timeline on when to achieve those tasks or implement those tasks, plug them in, time block them in our calendar right away. If we don't and we don't protect our time, then our tap turns off very quickly in the real estate business. We have to keep our tap on. The tap is new leads. The tap is new flow. If that tap turns off, you're screwed, right? Oh, I've got 3 deals on the go right now. I'm just too busy servicing my 3 clients. Well, then you got a massive time management problem. And when those 3 clients either tell you, oh, you know what, I'm not going to buy. Oh, I'm going to live with my parents. Oh, yeah, we bought. Great, 1 out of 3. Then what? Then you're going scraping again, building a new house out of straw versus stone. So for me, it's having the right habits, systems, processes that we implement with our Eisenhower matrix. Very, very powerful stuff. And we plug those in first.
So yeah, I have a question about this because I run a team and I'm around agents all the time and they have the best intentions to do that. But like you said, your day gets away from you. You get a phone call from an agent saying that their seller's not going to sign. It just everything that you can imagine hits the fan and those things just don't get done. And it's that day after day. So do you have a time they do it or you just say you do this first? You're doing this from 9 to 10 and then the rest of the day you can deal with whatever happens. What does that look like?
So I think everyone's got different styles and there's no right way, right? You hear all these gurus tell you, take an ice bath in the morning, drink a protein shake, have your grapefruit juice and run 30 miles. And by the time you've done that, you're exhausted and it's noon and you can't get your day started. It's pure stupidity. That's not what it's about. It's about what works for you. Maybe that works for someone, but it's not going to work for everyone. Okay. Those hardcore routines. So I let my team have a lot of freedoms because it's their own business. But what we do a lot is we habit stack. Have you heard of that concept before? Habit stacking. So we do a lot of that. So when we wake up and we read those 3 articles, right away we habit stack that with our important and non-urgent tasks and implement that into our daily schedule. From there, a lot of times we'll revert back to those 3 articles. We will pick one. This is as close to a daily routine as you could get. We'll pick one of those 3 that we think is most valuable. We will then define an audience that information is relevant and informative to. We will then implement the framework that I use called what, so what, now what. We will say what the article's about, so what, why is it relevant, give context, now what, give paint a picture of what's to come as a result of this information, and then we'll choose a platform to share that on, whether it be social media, whether it be a CRM email, whether it be a email blast, maybe a door knocking flyer, and we'll go deliver that to the audience that we define that article is important to. By the time we've done that, now it's 9 o'clock, we've filled our pipeline, or we've taken effort and action to keep that tap on, then I can get to my day, right? So that's as close to a routine, I suppose, as we could get. So most of us will start that way, but I don't force anything on my team. I don't have them do anything too structured, because I think everyone's very unique and very different in the way. I've got tons of great agents on my team. I'll give you one example. A lot of what I teach and coach can be applied to any lead generation technique, whether it be social media or door knocking. I've got one agent, can't stand social media, doesn't touch it, does about 700,000 a year in GCI, doesn't touch it ever, using my concepts. Another agent on my team, she does about 80% of her business directly from social media. She also does about 650, 700 in GCI. Okay. And very different business models, very different personalities, but they're applying the same concepts that I coach and teach. Deliver value, maintain good touch points, ask for the business, be the authority, move the needle, provide recommendations and advice. And they do that in their own way, and they make it happen. But the habits and structures and frameworks and schedules, we do try to have some sort of flow with that, but more so the habit stacking, right?
No, that's a great tip as far as the 3 articles. And then not just do it for your knowledge, then reach out to your database or that segment of your database you want to talk to about it. And then now you have something to post on social media. And then as you're showing houses that day, hey, did you hear about this article? So I love that tidbit right there. It's so simple, and everyone should do it. And it's one of those things that you and I probably do that naturally every day. But hopefully someone listening to this goes, hey, this is so easy. I'm going to educate myself. And then it gives me something when you are making those dials saying, hey, I thought of you. I read this article and this applies to you because it's impacting insurance in your state or whatever it might be. So I think that's great. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great point. So you mentioned systems. So you talked about the habit stacking, all that. So is that just part of it? Is there a certain CRM you guys use?
Yeah, I mean, we personally use Follow Up Boss. It's sophisticated and great. I'm a big fan. But I don't think there's any such thing as a bad CRM. Like when I started, it was a pen and paper, and then I got really technical and went to an Excel spreadsheet. Right. So as long as you're tracking your clients, as long as you're tracking every single person that you meet, some way, somehow, so that you can revert back to them, you have some notes on them and their contact information. That's really all you need. I mean, I would advise, if you have an Excel spreadsheet or a notepad, try to implement it into something a little more sophisticated. It will help you and allow you to scale your business. But I think that the point of a CRM is to keep us on track and understand that, this is not a business where we're selling blue jeans or bubble gum. It's not a point of sale transaction, right? If anyone's coming from retail or anything to that effect, it's absolutely nothing like it. And you see some high pressure sales tactics. That doesn't work in real estate. This is way too emotional of a transaction. As you said, the biggest asset most people ever own. So for me, something we implement in our CRM, I'll give you a little tidbit here. I think I sent you the guide that we use for our CRM. So feel free to share that. But we use a 1-to-7 structure amongst other structures, but we use something that I developed called developed makes it sound sophisticated. It's not. It's ranking our clients from a 1 to 7 in the sales process. What this does is it allows the agent to understand the client journey and the elongation of the sales process. I don't need to go from door knock to sign on the lawn. That's very difficult to do. Go buy a Powerball ticket, right? You'll have a better chance at that. But if I understand that with that first door knock, all I want to do is get them from a 1 to a 2, give myself the opportunity to share more value with them, to reintroduce myself next in 2025, keep them informed on the market, add them to my database, let them know what's going on. It's incredible to me how the stats tell us how many deals are lost to just ineffective touch points or lack thereof, like no touch points with our clients. And we don't do anything about it, but it's the easiest thing to do. Sending those emails targeted, specific to our buckets. But yeah, the 1 to 7 sales process, or the 1 to 7 tracking system for our CRM, allows us to elongate the sales process. And I think it's more important, or I know from my experience, it's more important to know where my client is at in the buyer or seller or leasing or investor journey, rather than knowing really anything else. Like I know there's different coaches, different agents talk about the personality thing, right? This client's a blue, this one's a red, or they're an L, they're a Y. There's so many of these personality things. If you get it wrong, good luck, you're done. So why would I make that assumption? What I could never get wrong is where they're at in the buying or selling journey, because I know. So if they're a 1, my job is to get them to a 2. If they're a 2, I want to get them to a 3. If they're a 3, I want to get them to a 4. And every time I talk to them, every time I make a phone call or send a text or send a DM or send a voice note or a video, my goal, my aim is to move the needle just to that next number. And I've got some definitions in the guide that I sent you there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
But yeah, it's more of a feeling of where they fall. A 7 would be this transaction, and 1 would be brand newly.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll definitely share it in the show notes and everything. So before we wrap up, someone's a brand new agent. They are not a social media guru. They don't come from a sales background. In today's market, and at least the American market is pretty tough right now. What would you say the very first thing they should be doing? Like, give us something they can work with, because there's a million ideas out there. But what would you say, like, here's your roadmap for the next 2 weeks?
For a brand new agent, I think step 1, you got to let everyone know that you're in the business. Let everyone know, make it a big deal, make an announcement, and you have to see this launch as a campaign versus an event. Don't post about it once or talk about it once or call your friend once. It's a campaign. For the next 3 months, you should be letting everyone know that you're in the business and why you're in the business, what you want to achieve. Okay. And the worst thing is, I want to make $1 million this year. Work, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. Your clients don't care about that. What do you want to achieve in terms of, your client success? I want to help buyers and sellers save the most amount of money or get the most amount of money. I want to guide people through that journey that is quite complicated. I just bought a house myself, and I know the complications and questions I had. I don't want anyone else to have a process like I had. So you got to let your sphere know. You've got to call everyone, turn it into a campaign. You said 2 weeks. I'm going to say you got to do that for the next 3 months. But supplementary to that is you've got to choose niches. You can't be all things to all people. Okay. Now, when you're choosing your niche, a lot of new agents choose first-time home buyers because they'll associate with me. I can work with first-time home buyers. I want to educate them. I want to show them. Okay. Seems to be the easiest segment of the market. They were non-existent the last 3 years in our market. They were the most risk-averse, and they had no equity build-up in their home. So why would I target a portion of the market that's not transacting? Now, going forward, it'll be a different story. But my point is, as you choose a niche, whether it be a geographic niche, so location, or it be a demographic niche, so a investor or first-time buyer, you want to make sure that there's a reason for you choosing that niche, market-wise. If you think there's going to be a massive demand for downsizers, okay, aging population, downsizers. Oh, but I've never worked with the elderly. I don't know what they're going to ask me. I'm nervous. Don't care. Figure it out, learn it, put together a lead magnet, and get out there and execute to that cohort, that segment of the market. Okay, oh, there's a new infrastructure project happening here. It's going to be loud and messy for the next 4 years. Probably a lot of people want to move out of there. Let me go inform them that's coming. That's my niche, is this community. So whatever it is, choose a niche and stick to that niche and provide value to that niche and make sure that that niche has, you have a reason to be reaching out to that cohort of the market. Okay. Don't just pick one because you like it. That's not business. You're in this business because you like people, you like to transact, and you probably want to make some money. If that is the case, choose a niche that aligns with opportunity in the market, put your lead magnet together, get out there, deliver that value. And same thing as we want to do it with our announcements and our launch of us in our business, is make it a campaign over an event. And the last piece of advice I will give you is there is absolutely no substitute for action. Everybody wants to be perfect and perfectly prepared. You'll never be, ever, until you go and take action. So my word of the year is intention. Everything we do has to have intention. We have to be intentional with everything we do, because that's going to keep us accountable to doing the high impact, high income generating activities. But with that intention comes the acknowledgement that you're never going to know everything, ever. So any new agent and any agent at any level, there is absolutely no substitute for action. Focus on doing versus perfection. It's an epidemic, perfectionism. Look it up. It's a thing. Perfectionism. And a lot of us have it naturally. We want everything to be perfect before we go and do. And these new agents will spend 6 months on a logo no one cares about. Oh, I want
Yeah.
my S a little more cursive. Oh,
Yeah.
that blue's a little too dark. Who cares? That's not going to get you another listing over someone else. I'm going to get the listing because I don't care about the shape of my S, and I'm knocking on the doors and you're not. So action with intention, and I think it's going to be a great year. I think all the economic indicators tell me it's going to be a great year, but I hope some of that information can help some of you guys out.
Yeah, there were a lot of really great things you said, Tyler. It was great talking with you. I liked the 1 to 2, 2 to 3, because so many people think it's a conversation and then it's a listing, or it's a conversation and it's like, oh, I'm going to buy 10 homes from you. And you just need
Yeah,
to just push them up the ladder just a little bit, building that relationships. And you say what we all know, that consistency. And that's really what it's all about, is getting up, getting dressed, doing work. And the 3 article thing, so simple, but so genius, where you're educating yourself. It just gives you stuff you can talk about. So it's been such a joy talking with you. Is there anything
likewise.
else you'd like to add that I didn't ask about?
No, I mean, I've got a ton of resources on my website. If anybody, like, I'm very accessible. I love coaching agents. I'm very passionate about this industry. So if anyone's got questions, you could tell them how to reach out to me. But my website, I've got a bunch of resources too, role play questions you should know the answer to, how to build a lead magnet, lots of stuff. So there's a lot more on there. Social
What
media. I
is your
post
website?
my coaching website is rexcoaching.com. Rex Coaching, REX, like the dinosaur, rexcoaching.com. And there's a ton of resources there. And then my Instagram for coaching is just Rex Coaching. Tons of videos on there. A lot of the things I talk about. My own personal is Tyler McLay Realty Group, and tylermclay.com is my personal
You're not
website.
hiding from anybody, as no agent should. They can find you.
I have my cell phone numbers on a billboard at the busiest intersection in Toronto. So I'm
Oh,
pretty.
I love it. That is awesome. That is
Agents need to be
awesome.
accessible, right? Agents need to be accessible. So
Absolutely. Well, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And of course, anyone listening, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram at This Is Christina Leavenworth. Just like Tyler, not a secret agent. Google Christina Leavenworth. My cell phone comes up. And as well, follow Real Estate Rockstars, or join us at the Mastermind in Austin. That is this March. It is a phenomenal event. We've talked about it a ton, how it changed my life and many other people. So we'd love to see you out there. But thank you again, Tyler, and we'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.